Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, July 7th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next couple of days, we will still have significant impacts to fire potential due to thunderstorms across much of the Great Basin. From now through about Saturday or Sunday, we will continue to see a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms across much of Nevada, Utah, the Arizona Strip, and up into Idaho. Thunderstorm coverage will likely be increasing as we go through the weekend. However, finally we'll see some moisture probably Sunday into early next week over parts of the Great Basin. In the meantime, we are expecting the mix of wet and dry storms with gusty outflow winds and also continued hot weather, which will increase fire potential. Over the last 24 hours, we saw scattered amounts of lightning across southeast Idaho into parts of Nevada and Utah. These thunderstorms produce some moisture along the Sierra front along with increasing relative humidity, but other areas, thunderstorms were on the drier side. Fire activity was moderate to high across the Great Basin, with, again, more large fires emerging in some areas. Precipitation over the last 1 to 4 weeks has been generally dry for the last 7 days across really all of the Great Basin, with a few very light showers across Idaho. And even across the Great Basin over the last 4 weeks, we've seen very dry conditions over the southern half of the area, with only some precipitation over southwest Idaho and northern Nevada, but that was earlier in June. How our fuels have responded: ERCs significantly have increased and are above the 97th percentile and even setting new records over parts of the southern two-thirds of Utah into eastern Nevada. Further north, although ERCs are lower, they have been increasing, and again, it's in these areas of southern Idaho and northern Nevada and on the western side of the basin where we have significant grass load, which has been driving fire behavior. The 10-hour fuel moisture is again more representative of our current threats across the Great Basin, with very low fuel moisture really in all areas, especially over southern and eastern Nevada into Utah. Live fuel moistures have been decreasing rapidly, especially across the eastern half of the Great Basin and in the south, where very dry conditions continued with hot temperatures. Some areas of Utah are approaching record lows for live fuel moisture. Also, ERCs again are setting new records over especially Utah into eastern Nevada, where typically at this point wetter conditions with the monsoon would have already set in. However, this year, with the monsoon being delayed, we are seeing those record ERCs. The satellite loop from this morning still shows very strong high pressure dominating the eastern side of the Great Basin with hot temperatures. This morning, skies are generally clear. However, there still is some remnant cloud cover from the thunderstorms yesterday, but these clear skies will allow plenty of thunderstorms to develop once again today in very similar areas that we saw yesterday. Looking at the weather pattern today, again, thunderstorms are expected in some of the same areas we saw yesterday and will be a mix of wet and dry, producing gusty outflow winds and very little rainfall. Therefore, we continue to have a high risk for lightning across many areas of Nevada and Utah, and today up into southwest Idaho, for this threat of thunderstorms being on the drier side with these gusty outflow winds and very dry fuels. Again today, relative humidity will remain low as the storms will be on the drier side, with relative humidity below about 12%. And thunderstorms are shown in the image on the right here. The only difference today is we may see a little bit more lightning coverage up into southwest Idaho than what we saw yesterday, and a little bit more lightning coverage across the same areas of Nevada and Utah that saw thunderstorms yesterday. By Saturday, a little bit more moisture works its way north up into the Great Basin, again to continue that threat of mixed wet and dry thunderstorms, so the lightning high risk is in similar areas tomorrow as we will see today, with the exception of the central Utah mountains, which may see a little bit more moisture with these thunderstorms. Looking at relative humidity on Saturday, very little change with the exception of a little bit higher RH in the higher terrain of Utah, but thunderstorms, very similar areas on Saturday, potentially pushing a little bit further north and west into northwest Nevada with increased lightning coverage. By Sunday, we start to see a little bit more moisture now working its way up into eastern Nevada and Utah, and that drier lightning threat is really confined to southwest Idaho, northeast Nevada, and northern Utah, with wetter storms now expected over the rest of Utah into southern and central Nevada. Relative humidity will be increasing with the exception of continued dry conditions over western and northwest Nevada, where we continue to see large fire activity. Again, lightning concerns will continue on Sunday, but we will start seeing a little bit more moisture over the southern half of the Great Basin. Forecast amount of precipitation over the next 3 days focuses again on the central Utah mountains, which is where we will see the better chances of wetter storms as we go through the weekend, and also approaching far southern Nevada and the Arizona Strip, as well as the central Idaho mountains. If we look into next week, we see that moisture really start to increase across Utah and eastern Nevada, and we do not have any high risk for Monday For lightning, we will continue to see lightning, but again, we'll see higher humidity and better chances of rainfall, especially across Utah into far eastern Nevada. Still dry conditions will continue across the rest of western and northern Nevada. However, by Tuesday, as that moisture still remains in place, we might start to see improving conditions across much of the Great Basin with the exception of the far west side. By Wednesday, that lightning threat continues with, again, deeper moisture across Utah and eastern Nevada. And again, that similar conditions on Thursday, we might start to lose some of our lightning activity on the west side, however, still continued thunderstorms across Utah. Looking at the 7-day total amount of precipitation, you can see, again, a little bit more precipitation now materializing, especially as we go into next week across the eastern half of the Great Basin. The 8 to 14-day outlook continues to show warm temperatures in the west, but above normal precipitation into the southwest, southern Utah, and southern Nevada, again as that monsoon becomes more established. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.